Super Nintendo World. So that has been officially announced again, I guess you could say, for a release date. But this time I don't think it's going to change. Although, with the pandemic and everything like that, who knows? So in Universal Studios, so again, just I think because people are getting really like confused about this, just to sort of like lay it out, you have Universal Studios in Japan, and there's a section of the park that is going to be dedicated to Nintendo. So Super Nintendo World. So they've done this before with Harry Potter and a few other properties, and you actually need a specific pass to get into that section of the park. For me, like I wouldn't even visit Universal Studios apart from the fact now that it has Super Nintendo World. So it's been dated for the 4th of Feb 2021. And as they've always said, they wanted to make sure it was open before the Olympics. And given that they've locked in the Olympics for June, from memory, 2021, and it's going to be funny because they're going to call it the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. That's literally what they're going to call it next year, because it got delayed because of the pandemic. And some of the Japanese media,
they've got to keep the streak of the 4 years,
well, they've moved the 4 years around before because of the wars and stuff like that, I believe. But I think it's more like the branding. They've invested so much into Tokyo 2020.
Yeah,
Literally, like they're like it's going to cost them so
much. People just be happy that the Olympics happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of quaint. I kind of like these things. It's a great trivia question in 20 years' time, And yeah, so the Japanese media got invited in to ride on some of the rides. Man, to me, I have to say I'm probably the resident Nintendo nerd. I almost buy everything. I almost regret not getting that Fire Emblem collection that they released, the $90 thing. It didn't make any sense to get it, and I still regret not getting it. Yeah, but man, I'm so excited about this. And just to let you guys know, I actually had planned to go to Japan with the family this year to visit the park, and amongst other things, I always wanted to go to Japan. And obviously with the pandemic, we cancelled those plans, but now I'm a bit hesitant. And yeah, so what do you guys think of this? What do you think about them opening up a very physical and very, like everyone's sharing, the AR headsets on the Mario Kart ride? Like, what do you guys think about this?
If it was any other time, this would be like the childhood dream kind of thing. It's like, oh my God, like it... You look at it and it looks amazing. Apparently,
it looks so good.
Apparently, in person, it's not big area, but it's just so packed into it. But yeah, the idea of you better hope that they're sanitizing, as you said, those AR headsets on the Mario Kart ride and stuff. But the problem is, well, I won't say I've checked the current state of COVID in Japan, but I'm pretty certain we're in a much better situation in Australia than Japan at the moment. But
Japan had been doing well, like almost as well as Australia. And I partly look at Japan because, we have family who Japanese, you know what I mean by that, like extended family. And now they're suffering through like a third wave. And one thing to note about Japan is they've never really had like an enforced lockdown. It's actually been very voluntary, a lot of the, initiatives that people have had. And it feels very much like it's finally catching up to them. So they're having a really bad outbreak at the moment. Like so much so that, there are a lot of people murmuring about, are they going to be even able to hold the Olympics if it gets out of control? So, yeah. Fingers crossed they get on top of it. But yeah, not many places have got it under control as well as like Singapore, Australia, New Zealand anyway.
But I'd be super excited to see what the apparent Donkey Kong section that they're apparently constructing nearby or next door looks like. That they've kind of... People have... I don't know if it's so much as a rumor, it's more like just, okay, well, that's what they're working on next. Because I love the idea of, it looking like a mix of classic Donkey Kong with, the girders and everything mixed in with tropical environments. That'd be cool just to see that. So, yeah. Kid Sweeney would have been over the moon to visit this. It would have been like the biggest thing in his life. So.
Well, it's kind of interesting because my son's 3 and he like totally knows Mario. He's really into Mario. And, he even was saying, when he turns 4, he literally said this morning, goes, when I turn 4, I can play Mario. And I think I must have mentioned it or something a long time ago. So by the time we get there, I'm guessing he'll be like 4 or 5, because I certainly wouldn't go anytime soon. So probably more like 5, to be honest. It does look insanely good. And I think people do need to temper their expectations. It's not big. Like, I think it's one of those ones you really could look around everything in like an hour or two.
Yeah, it looked almost small. There were like some drone/helicopter shots, and it felt like this weird self-enclosed Big Brother-esque thing in
Well,
the middle of the rest of
Just like to
civilization.
bring in Big Brother into a Super Nintendo World Cup.
No, just like if you saw the pictures, the top-down views,
Yeah,
it's
it's not big.
interesting. It's like this contained, walled-up thing.
Yeah, but that's how these ones work. These themed sections. That's what they've started to do. So because it's high risk, going in making a theme park, right? Like, you'd almost like. I mean, there isn't even a Star Wars theme park. There's a Star Wars section in the Disneyland theme park, right? So I mean, if Star Wars can't even carry the torch to have its own theme park, I don't almost think anything can these days. You need to bring multiple IPs together really to get people in the doors. So I think when they launch, they're gonna have 2 rides, and then by the way, they're also making one in Los Angeles as part of Universal Studios in Los Angeles. So
Okay.
supposedly that's gonna be bigger, but I would imagine maybe it's still just 2 rides. So yeah, I think you have to temper expectations. It's quite expensive, but it's just one of those things, Like, this would even for me it'd be a dream.
Could you imagine an F-Zero roller coaster? Oh my god, that would look amazing. That would look amazing.
Well, I'd be all for a theme park just around Nintendo stuff. Obviously, like there's so many awesome things you could do with each of the properties. Like, and for me, obviously, as a huge Metroid fan, I'd love anything to do with that franchise.
Rising
Even Prime
lava.
Hunters. As
You
what?
get curled up into a little ball and flung around.
That'd be cool. No, I'd
lava.
love it if you walk in and everything makes you seem like you should walk to the right, but you actually have to go to the left.
Ah.
Yeah, I don't think Mike appreciates that.
No, I think I get what you're alluding to, but no,
Well, what am I
don't.
alluding to?
Unfortunately, and I do say this legit, unfortunately, I didn't grow up on Nintendo stuff, so I can't share the same enthusiasm as you.
I actually have had this thought for a while, Mike, as part of the podcast. You are so into like Metroidvanias, and you play so many Metroidvanias.
Yet I've never played
But you've
the
never
original.
played Super Metroid specifically.
I know.
You haven't played
but,
Super
like,
Metroid?
No.
Oh my god, that's literally like my
Get
favorite
it
game
on.
of all time.
Hey, what is it on? Is it on
Yes.
the list of?
Yeah.
Ah,
No, it's. I was going to say it's on the Nintendo Switch SNES thing, so you can play
yeah, it's on there,
it
right?
anytime.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. That's my homework for this week.
You should play it. It's my favorite game of all time. So it'd be
Of all
funny if you came
time?
back and just shat
Whoa.
on it next week.
Does it still hold the test of time though? Is it still?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay,
Still
cool.
Great. Super
I
Metroid
think
is
it's
great.
How come they never remastered that?
well, yeah, that's
They
interesting
made
to
it
say
as
that.
good as possible.
Right.
True.
You
No,
can't.
actually,
You
the game
can't
is
remaster
flawless, but
perfection.
It's close.
All right,
Cool.
well,
All right. That's my homework.
I'm looking
Nice.
forward to this. I'll probably be the first one to see it. So I'll do a remote report when I'm over in Japan.
Yeah.
And
When's
a
that?
video on
2030.
it. That'd actually be cool.
By the way, Japan are looking at phasing out the sale of petrol cars by 2030, which I think is also very cool. Totally un-game
Wait,
related.
there's a segment in the run sheet that I don't know about petrol cars.
No, but I figured it's important news.
Well, I think while we're still on Japanese topics and going into random Japanese topics, maybe Svinny can save us with the next segment.